All right, so section 4.4, part 2. Let's go over now these next division problems. So we've got 3.4 divided by 1.24. We're going to have to go over 2 positions here for our new decimal. Now we're going to have to go over 2 positions here too. Remember, we can add that 0 to move that one over. So I'm going to erase the original positions there. Okay, and now we need to ask ourselves, how many groups of 124 can we fit into 340? I think we can go 3 times. Is that right? Nope. So we can only go 2 times, which would give us 248. So let's subtract here. We'll have to do some borrowing. And we get 92. So now we've got the decimal place there. We can add another 0, so we can drop it down. So we've got 920. So how many groups of 124 can we fit into 920? And we can go 7 times. By the way, you can always go 920 divided by 124 on your calculator. It'll give you 7 and then a decimal answer, 7 point something. So then you know 7 groups is going to fit. So that's kind of a shortcut way to do that. So 7 times 124 gave us 868. So that's what we're subtracting down here. And I get 52. So I'm going to drop down another 0. Remember, our decimal place is going to be right up here between our 2 and our 7. We're trying to get to the hundredths position, so we have to keep going. So how many groups of 124 can we fit into 520? And the answer will be 4. 4 times 124 is 496. And so we get 24. We're out to the hundredths position, but we have to know if we're rounding up or down. So let's add that next 0. 240 is only going to go 1 time. And we're left with 116. Now, again, we could keep on going, but we already have all the information we need because we know we're rounding down in the hundredths position. So our answer would be 2 74 hundredths. All right, now we have 25 75 hundredths divided by 15. So we can fit 1 group in the 25, leaving us with 10 left over. Drop down that 7. So how many groups of 15 fit in 107? So I can go 107 divided by 15 on my calculator, and it tells me it's 7 and a bit. So my answer then up here would be 7, because that's as many whole groups as we can do. So 7 times 15 is 105. So I'm going to subtract 105, which leaves me with 2. Drop down that 5. And 15 is only going to go into 25 once. Okay, my decimal is going to be up here, so I need to go just 1 more place value to round. So I'm going to add another 0. How many times does 15 go into 100? So it will go 6 times. And technically you have everything you need, but just for completeness, I'm going to subtract the 90 here, which leaves me with 10. So I've got 1 716 thousandths. If I round to the nearest hundredth, then this is going to be 1.72 or 1 72 hundredths. All right, last one. So we've got 2.921 divided by 2.3. We're going to move those decimal places over. There's our new positions. Maybe I'll just erase the old ones so they're not distracting there. Okay. And so we've got one group of 23 can fit into 29. That leaves us with 6 left over. We can drop down the 2. How many groups of 23 fit into 62? So 2 groups would fit. That would give me 46. I'm gonna have to borrow here. And I get 16. I did my subtraction, so I'm allowed to drop down my next number. How many groups of 23 and 161? So I'm going to do 161 divided by 23 on my calculator. I get an even 7. So the answer here is 7, and that's as far as you need to go because you no longer have anything remaining. So our decimal place goes right up here, and our answer then is 1 27/100. Uh-oh, I got 1.26 last time. Let me see if I made a mistake this time or last time. So if I do this on my calculator, I get 1.27. Nope, we're good. Okay, let's keep going. Okay, so we've got a couple of word problems to do here. So a developer wants to subdivide. They have a 12.6 acre piece and they want to divide it into 0.45 acre lots. How many lots are possible? Well, we're going to take our big number, 12.6, and we're going to see how many groups or how many lots of 0.45 we can fit. So we're going to have to move our decimal over 2 places here. That means our decimal and our dividend is going to have to go over 2. We're going to have a 0 to make that happen. So here are our new decimal points. And I'm just going to erase this leading 0 so it's a little easier to look at. Okay, so we've got how many groups of 45 fit into 126? That would be 2. 2 times 45 is 90. And I'm left with 36. So now I can drop down that 0. How many groups of 45 fit into 360? And the answer is 8 even, leaving us with no remainder. So here, 28 lots are possible. Now, question for you. What if my answer had been 28.3 or 28.8? Well, there would still only be 28 lots possible. There would just be a little bit left over because there's not enough to make another lot. Okay. Why don't you pause the video and try this last word problem on your own? Okay, let's try this last word problem here. So John starts the trip. We have an odometer reading when he starts and an odometer reading when he ends. He used 25.9 gallons of gas. We want to know the number of miles per gallon. So what we're looking for, what we want is miles, some amount of miles per gallon. Okay, well, we need to figure out how many miles he's gone first. So let's say miles traveled. So how would we know how many miles he's traveled? Well, we could take his end odometer reading and subtract the beginning odometer reading, and that's going to tell us how many miles he traveled in his trip. Okay, so we get 805. So now we want miles per gallon. So that means we're doing miles divided by gallons. So 805 miles divided by 25.9 gallons. Okay, we're going to move our decimal place over. We can do that if we move our decimal place here over 1. So there's our new decimal places. I'm just going to erase the old ones. And let's do our division. So how many groups of 259 can we fit in 805? And we can go 3 times. 3 times 259 gives us 777. And so I get 28, and now I can drop down that 0. So how many groups of 259 and 280? There would be one group. We're going to the nearest 10th, so we've got to keep going because our decimal place is going to be right there. Okay. We've got 21. Let's drop down another 0. How many groups of 259 and 210? Well, not even one. So here we have to add a 0. And then we could subtract 0 if we want, but we're still going to end up at 210. Let's just do it for completeness. Okay, because 0 times 259 would have given us 0. So we're left with 210. Now we can drop down another 0. So now we can ask how many groups of 259 in 2100? And that would be an 8. Because 8 times 259 gives us 2072. Okay, so we're left with 28 left over. Once again, we could continue on with our decimal, but we have all the information we need to round to the nearest 10th, because rounded to the nearest 10th, that would be 31.1, and this would be miles per gallon. Now you can either write it like this, or you can write it like this. They mean the same thing. Okay, so we could say John gets 31.1 miles per gallon.